everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kat, and for today we are just going to get into a massive swatch-a-thon. So we have from the mystery boxes from Adept, this guy right here, which has the most gorgeous color story. I mean, look at all these bright colors, the greens, I can't handle it, the beautiful yellows. We're going to swatch all of the shimmer shades that are in here, which is the top 2 rows, and then we are also going to take a look at this more neutral palette that Adept Cosmetics recently came out with. I'm not going to attempt to say the palette name because I know I'm going to mess that up. But on the inside they have very, very neutral colors and then a row of shimmers, and so we're going to swatch these as well because I feel like the formula in this one might be a little bit different than the formula in this guy. So I kind of want to take a look at both of them. And then within the mystery box, in addition to the one palette, there were also just a ton of these liquid liners that are supposedly multi-chrome liners. So we're going to swatch all of those, see what we think. There are 8 in total, so I am very, very excited. I will, however, right off the bat let you guys know that I hate the packaging on these because the only way to know the difference on there is in the tiniest little bit of font. You can sort of make out the name, like barely on there. And that is the only indication you have of the differences on there. So I'm gonna have to like label them myself to know what colors I am looking at. Because like if we were to compare these to the Kaleidos ones, each of the Kaleidos ones has the colors of the shifts in the packaging. And so I already know without even looking at any names or anything what colors I am grabbing for those liners. And so these guys already are kind of bugging me. And I'm gonna have to like keep them in order as we go through and swatch so that I know like, I'm already peeved about that. So for someone like me, I need clear, definitive labels on there where I can tell exactly what I'm looking at. And so if I have to try and guess, like, I'm probably not gonna use it very much. So that already for me is a little bit of like a meh. But we're gonna jump into swatching the eyeshadow palettes first. So I think let's go ahead and jump into this guy right off the bat because I am very curious as to what these guys are gonna look like. They look very sparkly. Like a couple of them already look like foils to me, and some of them look a little more shifty, so I am super duper excited. So the first one up is going to be Hermosa Beach, which is this really nice deep kind of violet navy shade, and it is super pretty. It looks like it has a little bit of some lighter purple sparkles in there as well. Definitely a deeper black base to it, and primarily this rich violet purple, but then goes into a little bit of a navy blue, and then when the light hits it, it makes it look a little bit lighter, but I don't think that that lightness is part of the shift. I think that's just the light hitting it. But really, really beautiful shade, very nice and opaque right off the bat. The second one, I'm not gonna lie, is already probably gonna be my favorite. This is gonna be Manhattan Beach, and the consistency of this one is definitely different. It is far more smooth and like silky feeling. Oh yeah, it's got some shifts on there. Okay, woo, okay. This is a very rainbowy shade. So it starts off with kind of a skin-toned base to it, but on top you are going from this like orangish into yellow into limey green into a little bit of bluish, and then you have some purple and pink undertones. So it hits the gamut of the rainbow on there. So you can see that kind of skin tone base, and then the yellow into that kind of with the orange at the tip, and then that limey green, and then you got some purple and pink on there. There you can really see that nice kind of orangish with like purple around it. It is gorgeous, and the amount of reflect that you're getting from back here, like here you can really see kind of those peachy orange into pink tones, really gorgeous, and then it comes more into those greenish and yellowish with a little bit of blue tones. I mean, really gorgeous, and it is solidly opaque. Like normally with this kind of shade, I would expect it to be a little bit more sheer, where you're gonna have to apply several layers. Not the case. This guy is already completely opaque on there, so really gorgeous. Okay, the next one up is Redondo Beach, and this guy is thick and wet, so very interested to see that. Oh, Yes, this is a foil. Oh man, and it's got like a mint, like almost like a spearmint kind of greenish undertone to the silver. Very interesting. Actually, I don't think this is a foil. I think this is just a standard metallic, but it is thick. And I mean, really beautiful shade on there. Very unexpected with the kind of like greenish tones. Very interesting. I was expecting it just by looking at it in the pan. I was expecting just a straight kind of gunmetal silver on there because that's what it looks like in the pan. So swatched, very, very interesting, the difference on there, because that green really comes out, and the green is definitely the base to it. The silver is what's on top. Very nice. But she is thick and chunky, so definitely make sure that you're being careful as you're going in if you're going to use your finger, so that you don't like smoosh it, because it's very delicate. Then we have the shade PCH, which also more of a wet, thicker consistency. I would say this one is a little bit more gritty feeling, kind of more like what you would get with a pressed glitter than the other guy. Yeah, it's definitely a pressed glitter, but because of the wetness, it goes on really nice and you're not getting glitter everywhere. So it really gives this guy definitely gives a nice, beautiful foil reflect on there. So really gorgeous, but it is definitely a pressed glitter. But I am someone that hates pressed glitters, but this specific formula is the one formula that I'm willing to deal with, because when they are wetter, to where when you put it on, the glitter doesn't go everywhere and you don't need a primer, that's the one type where I'm like, I'm okay with it, because I hate the amount of effort that goes into trying to clean up pressed glitters. So this is the good formula for me for a pressed glitter. Very, very nice. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful. Like a mirror. And then the final shade is Santa Monica Boulevard, which is back to that more soft, wet formula. And it looks like a beautiful copper, but it definitely also looks like it's going to be a shifty gal. So I am interested to see. So I'm already seeing, oh, okay. This is like the grungy copper of my dreams. So it goes between like a more rose gold copper, which is kind of like what you're seeing here, a little bit cranberry into rose gold, and then it kicks into more of a brassy yellowish copper tone with like some little bit of orange in between. But that is this guy right here. You can definitely see the more brassy yellowish tones up top, and then the more reddish cranberry-esque tones as I pull away. But really, really gorgeous. And then definitely back to that more wet consistency that we had with the blue guy and with the greenish silver shade in the middle. So really, really nice. But that is all of the different shimmers that we have in this first guy. But the Manhattan Beach one, which is this guy right here, is definitely my favorite. I love that consistency. It goes on so nice and smooth, blends out beautifully, so I'm very excited about that. But we're gonna jump into the mystery box palette next, which means we've got 10 beautiful shades that we are gonna be swatching from here. They look absolutely gorgeous, and I have not touched any of them yet, and so this is what we have inside the palette. You can see there's gonna be some multi-chromes going on in here, along with some beautiful shimmers. Ugh, they look so good. Oh man, I can't even tell you, like there's like 3 shades in here already where I'm like, it's gonna be my favorite, and I can't even tell which one. What's interesting is that 2 of them have their names crossed out on here, and I don't really know why. I've also never heard of these names before for any of these people. So that's kind of interesting. But 2 of them in the top row, you can see the names have been crossed out, and I don't know why. That's interesting. But I'm just gonna call them by the name even though it's crossed out, because I don't know what else to call them. So we're gonna start off with the first one, which is Frank Bertinelli. And this guy is a gorgeous shade. It's back to that smoother, like silky consistency that we had with this guy. So here we go. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a gap so we can distinguish between the 2 palettes. It's a good green. It's a good green, guys. Oh man, it's definitely very multi-chromy. It's going between yellow into lime green, into evergreen, into kind of a teal blue, into like a darker blue, almost purplish. So there you can see that kind of slimy, yellowish, limey green into more of an evergreen. And then it kicks, you can see the teal blue around the edges as it's trying to focus. And then that deeper purple is coming in a little bit with the blue at the edge there, but it just has so many different shades that it is going between, but just lots of different shifts on there, and the reflect is really, really nice. That's a gorgeous first shade. I will say that that particular shift is a fairly standard shift. I have many in my collection that shift like that. So it's not super unique, but still beautiful. And if you don't have that in your collection yet, it's a very nice shade. The next one is going to be Daniel Brickwell, and this is one of the ones that I was curious on, where I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna think about this shift, but it looks pretty. Okay, it does end up being one that is fairly standard. So that is this guy right here, has that reddish base to it that's kind of that tomatoey, almost raspberry red, and then goes between a silvery blue and a pink. And so there you can see the base, and then that kind of purplish pink on top, and it also has a little bit of like a teal bluish as well that you can kind of see around the tip there. But that is a very, very standard shade. I have this definitely many times over. So what's interesting though is that it looks almost kind of greenish depending on how I look at it. I don't know if that's just leftover from the other one. Let me get it on my other finger here and see if it's identical. No, there is a little bit of greenish, a little bit of lime green in there. Yeah, a little bit of lime green and yellow. So I would say that definitely does make it more unique because it has more additional tones on there. So very, very nice then. Next up is going to be Jason Brodeur. And this guy looks like a gorgeous multi-chrome, very silky formula. And that is this guy right here. Definitely beautiful, has that darker base to it and goes between pink, purple, blue, a little bit of green in there. So you can see the dark base with kind of that purplish blue. It gets into a little bit lighter, almost more magenta. And the deeper blue and greenish tones. Let me get a little bit more on my finger, because in the pan you can definitely see the blues and greens. So here you're definitely seeing more so in comparison to the purple that's on there. You're seeing more of the blue and a little bit of that green on there, as well as like almost like a little bit of reddish that I'm catching on. I don't know. Yeah, there is a little bit. This one kind of runs the gamut of the whole thing, and in the palette it just looks absolutely stunning. So let me see yep, there you can see a little bit more of the green, because it is this third guy right here, but just has a ton of different tones on there. So very, very beautiful shade. I will, however, say that swatched, they come across as a little bit more sheer, where you would want to build them up a bit more. There you can really kind of see that nice greenish tone on there. But I would say if you're wanting for these to really, really pop and look super metallic, I would use them with a setting spray, because that's going to get you the full level of opacity on there. It's not going to be sheer at all, and it is really going to cause that metallic foily nature of the shadows to just go bam. So I would recommend that based on how they're looking swatched. I would go in a little bit hard with that setting spray. So the fourth shade is going to be Leo Müller, or Mueller, I guess is we would say in America. So that is this guy right here. Also a shifty gal. Very, very pretty. That deeper base. This guy goes through many different shades. So this one has like a red to magenta, then also has yellow to coppery orange to green. It's got a lot of different things. So you can definitely see that kind of reddish magenta. And then as I come in, it changes to kind of coppery orange and then to yellow and green. So definitely seeing a lot of those gorgeous shifts on there as I come in close and pull back. And the main thing to kind of look at is you can see that they are not 100% opaque. And so that's what I'm talking about, where if you really want them to shine and just stand out like crazy, instead of having this a little bit more kind of gritty texture look to them, because they are very smooth, add that setting spray, because then you're going to get more of this kind of chromed look that doesn't look quite as gritty and is very smooth, but just looks like a coat of metal on your face. The next one looks more sparkly. This is Adam Hunt. And so this one's going to be interesting. It already feels more like a shimmer consistency rather than a metallic. It's not quite as smooth. Oh yeah, but that is a beautiful shade. This is just a nice light kind of turquoisey sky blue. And I'm not really noticing any shifts on there. It's just a very pretty sparkly shade. Maybe goes a little bit deeper, but I think that might also just be kind of how the ring light is hitting it. I don't really think the intent is for there to be any shift on that one, but very, very pretty. One thing I do want to note on here is that all of the pans are removable pans, because as I'm swatching them, they're kind of moving. And so this is a very nice magnetic palette where you can take the shades out and kind of move them around, reorganize them. So that is very, very nice for my single shadow lovers out there. You can take these out as you so choose, move them around, whatever you would like to make new color stories. So just wanted to throw that out for you guys as well. So the next row, we have Nelson Ravitch, which looks like another gorgeous multi-chrome. We are back to that smoother consistency. Rogue is down here next to me chewing on her bone. I've got both the doggos hanging out with me. This is stuffing behind me for when I do giveaways. I need to put it back in a bag, but I had just sent out my 1,300 subscriber giveaway. So that's what that is in the background. But Rogue is just kind of going crazy, and Falco's like, I'm over this. All right, so here we go with that next shade. Oh, that's a nice green. Look at it. Ooh. Okay, and it goes from green to purple to blue. Gorgeous, that really nice evergreen. You can see a little bit more of like a teal blue, and then the deeper purple. Yeah, it definitely has like purplish blue accents on there as well. The camera, just for some reason, there you can kind of see a little, there's the bluish purple as it's trying to focus. Okay, very, very nice. I was like, come on camera, normally you're better than this. All right, the next one is Manticora, and this is another one of those ones where I'm kind of like, what's it gonna be? Because it's very interesting in the palette. So here we go. Okay, starts off a bit more teal blue with like a little bit of green in there. It's very sparkly. So what's interesting is it actually has kind of a similar shift to this guy, but you can see much more like sparkly, like with little glitter pieces in there. It's not a pressed glitter, but definitely a little bit more chunky looking than what this guy is, but it has similar kind of shades. It's got purples and greens and blues in there, but definitely a bit more of like a sparkly, glittery looking shade. All right, the next shade is gonna be Harold Bachman, and this guy is definitely that smooth multi-chrome consistency. Starts off very purple. Okay. Yeah, very similar consistency to the other guys. I would say even more sheer. Like, I went over it with my finger several times, and you can definitely still see my skin underneath. And this is like the area where it should be the heaviest, and it is definitely more on the sheer side. Goes between purple, red, blue. Let me add a little bit more. Oh yeah, there's the purple to blue. A little bit of that warmer reddish around the edges. Yeah, very pretty shade, but you definitely have to build this guy up a little bit more than some of the other shades to get it to that really nice opacity. All right, the next one is going to be Isabel Rokiev. This is another one where I am curious, unsure what it's going to look like. It is a bit shifty, okay? So here we go. starts off with like a nice light sky blue, has green mixed in with it, like a lighter green, and then a little bit of gold. So there you can see that gold that's on top, and the green is ever so slight, so it's primarily between the sky blue and the gold on top, but it does also have like some silvery, and then there you can see a bit more of that green when the gold and the blue kind of mix together. It gives off that little bit of greenish shine on there. Almost a little bit purplish silver when you pull back though. But very pretty, very interesting shade. If you are someone that enjoys pastels and you're wanting to go a little more bold, this would be a really nice shade for you. And then the final shade is Warren Patel. Very gritty. This is definitely a pressed glitter feeling. Actually, I'll be honest, it feels more like a flaky glitter. It doesn't feel like a pressed glitter in that. It feels like a flaky glitter. Yeah, and the way that it's performing, it's just a more chunky, flaky. It's not a pressed glitter in the same way that this guy is. So you can see that kind of reddish base, and then it goes between purple and blue. And it is very, very pretty. I would say very similar to this guy, just a lighter version of it, because the base isn't quite so deep of a raspberry red. It's more of like a lighter peachy toned base, but very, very pretty. And I mean, really nice. Like that one, if you use like a tiny bit of setting spray, it's going to be very, very bold. So really nice on that one. So this is everything from both of the two palettes as far as all of the metallic shades go. I don't swatch matte shades just because I feel like that sometimes misrepresents the quality of the mattes, and so I don't like doing that. But with metallics, if you can swatch it with your finger, it's going to give you a pretty good representation of how you're going to do, because I do like to apply the majority of my metallic shades with my fingers. So next up, we're going to jump into these liners. We're going to see how it goes. I don't know. So the first shade up is Gold Ducat, and this guy looks green. So let's see here. Don't mind all of the cuts on this hand. I got into a fight with my bush outside. It was very windy when the trash people came by, and so it knocked over several of the trash bins, and so I had to go and clean up some of the trash from my neighbors that got stuck in my yard, and my bushes did not agree with that. So this is definitely green, maybe with like a little bit of blue. It is very wet. It'll be interesting to see how quickly it dries as far as like liquid liners go. And once it dries, can you see more of a shift? Like I'm seeing green with like a hint of blue, but I'm not really seeing too much else on there. So that's the first one. And of course I'm able to assist with the drying by blowing on it. I'm not gonna be able to do that on my eyes. So the next one is Goron. And ooh, okay, this guy I can definitely foresee being a multichrome, because there are many different sparkles going on, and it looks kind of like one of those grungy copper ones that has like between red, yellow, and kind of coppery orange. Ooh, also a little bit of green in this guy. Okay. Very, very nice. So this guy definitely getting way more shifts than I did in the first one. So here we go. You can definitely see kind of the yellow to copper. And there's some red. Oh yeah, there's the red. Yellowish into the greenish a little bit. And you can, yeah, I definitely think the top one is more so like teal blue into like grassy green. And then that bottom one has like 3 or 4 different shades that it goes into. Very, very pretty on that one. So that was, okay, so 1, 2, I gotta keep them in order. The next one up is going to be a Biomimetic Gel. Okay, this guy is kind of purpley. I also don't know if I'm supposed to be shaking these up. You know, they're very liquidy. This guy starts off very purple, has some pinks in it though. So very interesting. The top green one is a little bit tacky, but mostly dry. It's not coming off on my fingers at all. So I would say you're looking at like maybe a minute-ish for it to dry. So the third one goes between bluish into purple into pink. It's a very pretty shade. So there you can see the purple into the kind of reddish, and it also has some blue tones in it as well, but very, very nice. So the second and third shade I am more impressed with than the first one. The first one just kind of, like as I'm looking at it on my hand, I don't see any shift, and it just kind of looks like a green, like a grassy green, like it's not a great green. But the other two, as you see it in the camera, is the opposite of what I see when I look at it on my hand. So if that gives you any indication of the level of shift that we have going on, it's a lot. So then the fourth one is just Rom. So this guy, ooh, very grungy. Kind of brownish. That's definitely just brown. Okay. Not really noticing a whole lot of shift. It just looks brown. And Rogue is protecting her gingerbread man from Falco. Rogie, would you stop? This is what happens. How about that now? Yeah, it's very brown. Kind of like a cool toned brown, but I'm really not seeing any shifts with that guy. It is just brown. Okay. Well, if you need a brown liner, you'll get one. Then we have Noonien Soong. It looks like song, but they added a second O to it. So there you go. Okay, ooh, this guy is not quite, it looks a little bit dried out almost. Let me give it a shakeroonie here, see if that helps. No, okay, this guy does look like it's got a little bit dried out, which is crazy since these just arrived. It definitely still works, but yeah, it is getting a little bit thicker as far as like, it is not as liquidy as some of the others were. So you're not gonna get as nice and clean of a line with this one if your consistency is that. Very pretty shift though. It goes between like a magenta into a gold into a green. It is very, also a little bit of blue maybe, unsure, but like magenta into that kind of yellowish and then into green as it's trying to focus. So really pretty with the shifts on there that you're gonna get. But also you can see already the quality of the line. Not that any of the lines are all that great because I'm using my left hand, but it is definitely a little bit thicker. There's more like bumps and dry pieces in there than in the other ones. And so that's kind of unfortunate that, I don't know how that dried out. I literally just opened them today. All right, this next one is Sector 001. Ooh, okay. This guy is gonna be a shifty one and is very nice and liquidy. So this guy has many shifts between like yellow to green to blue, possibly a little bit of purple. Yeah, definitely a little bit of purple. Absolutely gorgeous shade. So that is the bottom one. Very nice green into blue. You can also see that really nice kind of limey yellow, and then it gets more green and then more blue like into that teal as it's trying to focus. So when the camera's trying to focus is when you'll oftentimes get the best visual of what the shifts are. And so that's why I kind of let it be all blurry, because that's really going to show you the different color tones. But that one's very, very beautiful. Got two left. So the first one is Lieutenant Barclay. See here, that feels a little bit repetitive given the shades that we already have. Okay. I would say though that that's the cleanest out of all of the lines so far. So the consistency was very nice. So this guy also, it's like a more grungy version of the shade that we just swatched. So you can see kind of more of like a muddy-ish, grungy, olivey green and kind of a more grungy, coppery tone with it. And then a little bit less of a bright blue. It's more of like a grungy teal blue, but it's definitely more olivey in tone. I do feel like that shade probably wasn't necessary. I feel like it's like if you took this green and combine it with brown shade, that's what you got. Like, I don't feel like that one was necessary. All right, and then the last one is Turok Noir, and this looks just straight black. Okay. So I guess the black and the brown are just so that way you guys can also have just some standard normal shade. The black shade is nice. It doesn't look like that's one nice thing about all of these. There's no bleeding whatsoever. And so they stay where you put them, which is awesome. And the black does seem like it dries a little bit faster than the others. So there you have it. That is just your straight black shade. And you can see when I get close, there is no bleeding whatsoever on any of these shades. They just stay where you put them. So if you were looking for really good liners as far as like the quality of whether it bleeds or not, these are great. I think the only downside was that the one somehow dried out, and I mean, I think I would have gotten better lines if I'd been using my right hand because I'm not left-handed. So, but the quality of the formula itself is good. It's very nice and solid. They are like a little bit sticky as they dry. And so if you like press hard on them, it feels somewhat tacky. But if you're just lightly touching it with your hand, they feel dry. They also don't feel very heavy either, which is nice because there are definitely some liquid liner formulas that I have tried where when they dry, they become very heavy and like almost cakey to where they're going to start cracking as they dry. These are not that at all. They dry down very, very nicely. And so I think they're great. And especially like if you're just wanting a nice black liner, like this Turok Noir shade is a nice black liner. Like I've been looking for a good solid black liquid liner that doesn't bleed because I have not had a whole lot of luck lately. And so this is a really nice one. But that is everything from both palettes and the liners from the mystery collection that they had come out. And I think it's very nice. I don't think any of it is overly unique, I will say that. And so if you are someone that already collects a ton of multi-chromes, you probably don't need to pick these up. But if you don't have a whole lot of multi-chromes, I would say it's worth it. If you are someone that loves neutrals, and you don't have anything like this one, this would maybe be a great palette for you. It has a lot of nice range on more of the warm tone side for the neutrals, including having like that pop of red and then this kind of more terracotta shade is very, very nice. And so I think you've got a good mix as well because these four over here are more cool toned neutrals. So you've got a good range in this palette if you are someone that is a fan of neutrals and wants to give some of these metallic shades a try. And then if you are someone that likes a lot of really fun, bold greens and yellows, like this is a great palette for you. So like I love this color story because I love more of your like fun greens and yellows. But again, it's not a hugely unique palette, so I would say if you already have similar things, you probably don't need to go out and grab it. It's nothing over the top awesome, and I would say the quality of the multi-chromes it's good, but they do require assistance, so it's not like at the level of like Cleonda or anything, or Terra Moons or Divine or anything like that where you don't need any assistance. These guys, for them to really, really shine, you would want to use a setting spray or like a glitter primer. But that's my thought on everything. I would love to know what you guys think of everything. Did you guys pick up any of the products? What did you think if you did? And if you did not, I know that they do have the mystery box palette is going to become like a regular that you can pick up on the website. I don't know about the liners, but I would imagine yes. But again, my primary critique with the liners is the packaging. I absolutely hate it. But that is just me. So let me know what you guys think of everything down in the comments down below. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you did not, as we always do here. And if you made it to the end and you have not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe. Come join my family here. We talk a ton about indie brands, do swatches of everything, have really colorful makeup on, and if that sounds like fun for you, I would love it if you would join us. At least drop a comment down below. Let me know what the things are that you are loving lately. And other than that, you guys just go have a good one.